platform as the guest speaker, and she was ordained in Interfaith Ministries 2 years ago. And as Joy said, she is also a licensed Unity teacher candidate. So let's give her our love and support and welcome Jan Malone.
Good morning, thank you. Today, I'm going to be talking about callings, as Joy spoke about. It's Greg Lavoie's book, Finding and Following an Authentic Life. And if you see people happy and joyous, that's emanating from them, and we get to join in with that, and you know that they're following their calling. So Greg will be here 2 weeks on the 17th, talking about his vital signs and passions. Scott talked about that last week. It was awesome. I can't wait to read the book. I chose the smaller book. Vital signs is big. So what I'm doing with the book is showing you how I went through it, following a thread. How I am seeing my calling, which is still unfolding. I feel it kind of unfolds our whole life. And there's 5 parts to this to show how to go through your thread. And this talk is going to be about me and my paths. And some of you know already some of my life and where I've been and what I've been doing. And some time ago, I was service assistant and talked about how my parents didn't really care for me, and I had a spiritual healing through Christian Science. I had an accident, and Christian Science don't believe in doctors, so I was healed through prayer. And so in Greg Lavoie's book, part 1 is my call to attention. So basically, I'm going back looking, where did my thread start? And my thread, I believe, started when I was 6 years old when I had that car accident. And back then, I knew God existed, and I actually felt that inner strength at that time. Part 2 is receiving my call. So this is where, as you're going through your thread, seeing those points where you can see what your call is going to be. So moving from the time of my healing to a little bit further in life, my sister and I used to play musicians, and we loved the Beatles. So I was Paul McCartney, Susan was John Lennon, so we would play music and sing and sing and sing. So I knew then music was a part of my life, and my mom had bought us a guitar to have some guitar lessons. So this gentleman came for about 3 weeks teaching us guitar, and then he stopped, and I thought, oh, that, why isn't he coming anymore? And I was raised, children are to be seen and not heard, so you didn't ask questions. So I didn't. One day, I went and got the guitar, and I was playing it, and my mom said, I don't want to hear it. I was like, oh, all right. So I took the guitar outside, and then she yelled, I can still hear it. So it's like, okay, I won't do this. So I actually did it while she was gone. And then because there was nobody there to take it to the next level or any enthusiasm to do it, I kind of just put it aside. I don't even know what happened to it really. But I knew that passion of music was in me because I loved music. The next passion was in junior high. I was in a theater class, and I was the lead in The Case of Missing Pearl. And I loved doing that. We did different skits, and I loved being on stage. I loved, I guess, the enjoyment of having everyone connect in that sense. Later on in life, Mike Wolthoff and I were in a band called the Fractals, and I booked the band and did backup vocals. And he played music a lot, actually, and I got to dabble in some backup singing at that time. So, oh yeah, and then Unity of Boulder, we were in that for many years, and we started a group called the Unity Project, and we raised money for the Boulder Safe House and also the Rainforest, thank you. And Glenn Winterstrom was in that band too. There were 14 people. It was so fun. I have a poster I should bring and show you that. So my nudge just got stronger and stronger, plus the enthusiasm in that aspect. In Lavoie's book, he talks about Ariadne's thread, and I'm not sure that everybody knows about that. It's a mythological story about Theseus, the king of Athens, and a minotaur, half man, half bull. Theseus slayed the beast in the center of an underground labyrinth, and then he guided himself back to the surface through a thread that Ariadne's, a king's daughter, retraced his steps with that thread. So that's basically what I'm doing through this book. And everybody actually has a thread. You can pay attention to where your calling has come from. And actually, as you go through that maze, you also see, like when I was saying that my mom and, well, my dad said it too, that you're to be seen and not heard. That's part of my block where I'm quiet. I don't ask questions. I don't move forward in that. But I'm an adult now. I have a choice. So I'm seeing, okay, that is a block. Let's take that layer off and some other block will come up. So, the beginning of my thread was, I was 6 and I was healed at that time. I went on liking music and actually wanting to be on stage. And then at 21, I lived in Taipei, Taiwan for 3 years with my 2 sons and my husband at that time. And we were in the military. And soon after we got there, he went on some secret mission, and I was there for 4 months without money, and I didn't know what to do. And next door, I had a military police living, and he said, I'll teach you the black market. So I was like, okay. So I went to the commissary, bought all the things that I could black market, gently take off that number so I don't get caught. And then at night, they would come to my home and watch my kids while I went to Chenmu. We lived up in Yamingshan, and I went to these dark places and sold all my stuff. And that's how I lived for that 4 months. And after that, then I wasn't with that man anymore. I wasn't scared either. There's something about being in that blind faith and that trust. We need that stubbornness, the righteous anger to stand up, to move forward, the spontaneity, the impulsiveness, the power to push through. And then there's that celebration of that feat. Like right now, when I look back, it's like that's what gives me the power to move forward. Like standing here and talking to you and moving forward in that. Those things are the things that what makes us today who we are. So then my next step was when I woke up at 30. I had a desire for God. It was like this huge, powerful thing that I read everything I could get my hands on to know God. What is God? And what does that mean exactly? And I actually wanted to become a minister back then, but I didn't know how to do it. I'm raising 3 kids. How does a person do that? Be a mother and be a minister too. So I didn't follow through with that, but I did my studies. I kept going. I've never stopped, actually. At 49, I went to yoga, and I loved how it made me feel. I loved all the readings. So I thought, I'm going to become a yoga teacher. So I did. I went through all the yoga training, and my life changed drastically. My passion went crazy. So I taught yoga for 8 years. Yoga actually is a whole body, mind, spirit strength that you learn. And there's a lot of connection between the unity principles and the Hindu tradition too. And of course in yoga, I got to stand in front of people and teach them what I love. So a calling can be like a committed relationship, but only you're doing it for yourself. A calling is where you're following something that you want to do, that you stick to it, that you stay with it, that you give that love to that place. So how do you have a committed relationship in that sense with yourself? I do. I still have a desire to read, to learn more, to share through music, through speaking, through teaching. And that's one of the reasons why I'm a licensed unity teacher. And I have a huge bookcase full of books, and I can't wait to read because I get that opportunity. And I'm 62 now, It's been a long time studying, and I don't think that'll ever stop because I love it. And Bob Malone is the one that helped me get into the licensed unity teacher program to deepen my experience, my spiritual experience, and to be able to share it with all those that are with me. And in that time frame, about halfway point, that's when I found the All Faith Seminary International, and I actually did it with Callie. And oh yeah, and Jeannie Ray just went through it too. I don't know if she's here today. She just graduated last week or week before last. And what was cool about that is you learn that we're all going to the same place. We're all looking for that higher guidance, that higher place, God, whatever you want to label it. And we just open the roof and we observe. This is a personal journey. It doesn't matter. My journey is not your journey, and your journey is not mine. So you just love and have compassion for everyone and not have that feeling of separation. So after I finished that, then I went right back into my licensed unity teacher training. And as Joy said that we will be graduating this year. I also do 2 Toastmasters and a speaking circle. I lead a group, Way of Mastery, you all know about that. And that was one good example about reading a book and having to share it. I read it and I went to Scott and said, I gotta do a book group with this. And he says, okay. A week later he calls and says, oh, this guy Doug Carey wants to do the book too. It's like, what? So we did that together, and we've built a huge, wonderful group. And we have gone deep and are going deeper. It's an awesome group. I encourage you to come and join us. So a calling actually is a crossing point, a maturity of lifting yourself to another mature place, a rite of passage. And the important part is the awareness. So as you take this thread and you're finding your path in life, being aware, being in the moment. So the third part of his book is invoking that call. So you have to nurture it somehow. You have this passion for this desire and the curiosity. So how do you do that? Through prayer, meditation, silence, people that you interact with, journaling. There's so many. Witnessing, inspiration, studying, intentions. There's many, many ways you can encourage that passion for yourself. I didn't have an easy life, and I can't change it, but I can change my attitude about it, and I feel like I have. I don't really feel like I need to go back and change anything. I like who I am today, and I'm excited about moving forward. And yeah, there are going to be some stumbles. And the boy says that we need to start small, otherwise we get a spiritual hernia. And Paul Hasselbeck actually taught us this, where we have a belief system, the circle in the center where we play a lot. And then there's that other circle, the adjacent circle where we step down into. It's like, and test it out, you know, and that actually expands us. And then if we were to step outside of that circle, then it could be a not possible thing, and then you'll just revert back to your small circle. So you just kind of play in that area. Otherwise you get a spiritual hernia, as he calls it. Also, Leroy talks about Bernie Siegel did an experiment where they took a brain cell from the brain and put it in the hindquarter, and that brain cell made its way back up to the brain because that's where it's supposed to be. So you can look at that. And also, Siegel says that our body knows what we're going to be when we grow up. So that desire is so powerful and so strong. It takes us to that point of power, that we are the expression of God. And it just keeps going back to that. The calling isn't so much that we're on a path, the path is drawing us. That's that nudge, that calling, that urge that Joy was expressing. Leroy gave another good example on that, where he went to a ranch and he was going to deliver colts. And the rancher says that the colts are born in the middle of the night, so it can be walking by morning. So the mother's body has an intuition to birth that baby in the night, and the baby knows to get up and walk around so it can go on with the herd. So our bodies are powerful. They can heal themselves. We are the point of power. We are the expression of God. The fourth and fifth part of the book is say yes and know when to say no. All of our lives, we're told to sit down and conform. I say, stand up, do something wonderful, do a creation that your passion is expressing. In the Gospel of Thomas, paragraph 70, Jesus said, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what's within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. And my sister is a good example on that. She passed away at 61 of cancer, and throughout my lifetime she'd call me and she'd say, what are you doing? So I'd tell her, and she'd say, I'm living my life through you. I wish I could do all the things that you do. You're so brave. And my mom used to say that too. And there was so much fear they couldn't do that. But I've also stepped out and did my studies that have brought me to where I'm at today. So when we make changes in our life, we have to break rules, disappoint people, and part ways, which means we have a harvest of a new love, a new passion, a new success, a new power. You also will suffer a loss, and that loss actually is a skill. You can look at it that way rather than being disappointed. So what are you willing to give up in order to follow your calling? Greg also talks about mentors in his book, and I thought, yeah, I want to be a mentor. But I changed my mind. I want to be a tour mentor, which tormented means to be turned around. A tormentor is someone who comforts and confronts, one who tolerates reasonableness up to a point and then escalates from push to show up and to get moving again. Someone who replaces fear that you don't matter with love that you really do matter. A tormentor is supportive and won't slather reassurance at every turn. We need honest knowledge, meaning it's slippery when wet, and often it's wet. We want our lives to catch fire and burn blue and not to smolder. We want to use ourselves up and leave this life the way we entered it, complete. And die with a yes on your lips and make that final transition. We make it with some grace and eyes wide open. By following our calling, we may just be able to more squarely face death, and we may never really be ready, but we may be readier. So in order to follow our call, it's important to shout out a few hosannas during our progress, celebrate how far we've come from what we've done so far. Our goals may change radically, but it's vital to do plenty of gratification along the way. Spilling not just tears but champagne. Half of the success is recognizing it. So here's a quote from Phoebe Ing. She says, risk itself is a process of constant unfolding. Taking risk is the process of peeling back layers of what you are and who you want to be. So in Greg's book, he's taken us from calling your attention to where your thread starts, receiving your call, what is the things that you've been receiving along the way, invoking that once you recognize that, and saying yes and knowing when to say no. So you're never too old to have a calling. So I say pay attention, get out there and do your calling, and see what's pulling you or nudging you.